Bluetooth, camera,
Shaun Petersen take care of Saturday.
Awesome. It's great to be home. We have Raiders in Texas, but you got a lot of them. You have Raiders, Pascal and Joey, just the things that are 100% in Texas. So, let the record reflect Texas and Mama. Just where you live. Just where I live. Oh, I will tell you a funny story. My youngest son is a sophomore in high school, and I may remember him coming with me. So, sophomore in high school, we just had our first grandbaby 6 months ago. My wife went up, spent a couple weeks with my daughter and son-in-law, and the grandkid came back as my son's finishing his freshman year, and she looks at me. She didn't put it quite this plain, but pretty close there. How 2 years to get this shit together? Because when he walks across the stage and shakes the principal's hand, I'm on the first plane at where she's going, but so we're excited to be able to present, and I say we, ultimately it's going to end up being Brett. So there's a story behind this. We were putting our presentation together, talking about what we wanted to do. We came up with this idea of let's come up with some tips so we can give people to close the year out strong and start 2025. Brett and Bill and several others did a presentation in Pennsylvania and Delaware, whatever the Mid-Atlantic Association is called, about a month ago. And it went so well, as Brett's putting the slides together, I'm like, we have 45 minutes, and there's a lot of material, and none of it is interesting that has anything to do with the attorney side of it, so we're just going to let Brett take off. And you all know Brett, you can talk through any situation. Probably have to put a muzzle on it and feel free. But Bill probably will chime in a little bit as well. There's time I may throw a couple nuggets. But I think you're going to really like this presentation. It was a huge hit in the Atlantic States. I will take the first slide though, because you can't have a presentation without some kind of disclaimer, right? The attorney's got to put this in. So we're going to give you a bunch of ideas, none of which can be construed as legal or tax advice. Fair enough? All right, I'm on. I'm done. Hey, Shaun's done.
Now we're done with small print. As I always say, don't worry about that. The customer will read that for you. We're going to go to the next thing. And as you can tell, this slide was recently put together because it started out as a great slide with a bunch of information and like some trends and some things that we had stolen from the auctions and everything. And in the past 3 weeks, all of that data has gone bye-bye. All the average prices, all the inventory matrix, all the days supply, the auction sales, transportation prices, and everything because of the 2 hurricanes is completely gone. So whether it makes the inventory section probably even more relevant than when we're talking about how things work, is focusing on how quickly over the last couple of years, especially since COVID, things are changing, right? And you know, the types of dealers who tend to maybe underreact and overreact to things, and what happens when you do that, right? So you're talking about inventory, when to buy and where. If you're in any of the Facebook groups, there's all those questions. Are we buying cars from Florida? Question mark. You know, and all the different Facebook groups. And I was talking to Lisa, 10 minutes ago about, man, we used to buy cars from all these states and now we can't, so what do you do? Right, where do you go? Estimated $6.4 billion in damages just from the Hurricane Helene. Hundreds of thousands of cars gone. The problem with this is obviously when there's issues like this, right? Supply goes down, demand goes up, but there's a couple of things that are impacting the pricing even more that don't typically happen. One of the things, obviously, the cars left the marketplace, right? Okay, so supply, demand, car prices go up. The other problem that you have is you've also got a bunch of cars that are trapped. You've got cars that nobody knows what it's about. Everybody in Ohio is familiar, so I'll use them as Gansey's. One of his stores in Florida lost 700 cars. $3.5 million in deductibles, right? Just gone. So now he's going to take all the cars from his Ohio dealerships, send them down just to replenish Florida. Even Kia can't get him the cars fast enough, and on average, it's costing about $300 to $400 more per car to ship. Right? All these things impact our business. They impact your front end growth, all these things where you're going to buy. The third problem that you have is nobody knows how soon those customers that were all affected are actually going to be able to re-end their money. So car prices are getting more expensive, and if you're in those states, okay, so I bought more cars, now what? There's nobody to buy. Right? So you have these pockets that are now getting hammered because anybody who does need a car, well, we'll go buy from him because he actually has power. Right? And we have, Buckeyes in all 50 states, essentially. And we have a significant amount of dealers in the Floridas and the Carolinas. And some of them, their dealerships are open and the retail is, okay. They didn't lose that much. And other guys, especially like our buy-here, pay-here dealers, it's like, how do you collect when you have no building and no internet? And people aren't going to work, right? So a lot of things are impacting inventory. And as you're getting into, the end of the year and people are starting to prepare for, tax time, it's like, how do you even forecast that? Like, what's your budget going to be? Are you going to buy the same, if you're typically one of those people who said, well, I run with a 45-day supply, like, does that even make sense?
So one other interesting at an event with the governor of Texas here just a couple of days ago. It was right after the longshoreman strike started, and then the day before it ended. Temporary approach, I wouldn't say ended, right? So one of the things to take into consideration is the fact that the ports could close again on January 1st. And that's a really strong likelihood. So what's that going to do?
So the biggest issue, right? And one of the reasons as an independent dealer, ever since COVID, one of the things that obviously drive prices up too is now all of a sudden new car dealers want to participate in our market, right? They're holding on to their trades that they didn't use. That 90-day hard turn that we all love and enjoy when they're sending recon cars to the auction because their service department's too expensive, they're holding on to those cars. We're not getting the benefit of buying those old age inventory that their system says they have to get rid of, right? Because VR told them they can't keep it. And all these things are kind of impacting how we buy cars now. So if you were someone who in here is retail, first of all, just retail, buy your behavior, hybrid, that's a little bit low. Okay. So if you're a buy your behavior dealer, statistically or normally, October, we can start doing our tax deeds, like right away. Right? We start planning for tax season a little earlier. We ramp up our cars, right? We tend to try and find a lower ACV car where our time of line might be a little bit longer, you know, things like that. So October is when I always used to start buying cars. We wanted tons of cars going into tax time, right? We didn't wait till January because in January, everything naturally goes up. So you take the time of year, all the natural disasters that we're having, and then just normal market stuff, and like it's getting more and more competitive at the auctions and trying to find these cars. And we can complain about the auctions, and we can complain about the CRs and all that stuff all we want, but ultimately, whatever you're buying, one of the things that I see is, and this is everywhere, is people who are going to the auctions and go, like, how many cars a month do you sell? Well, I'm doing 60 cars a month. Okay, how many cars do you have to buy? Well, I got to buy at least 60 to 75 cars a month. It's like, okay, fine. Well, how many auctions are you going to? Oh, I go to this place on Tuesdays. So what are you doing? So they put themselves in a situation where they have to buy out of necessity. They go to the auction, and he said, Tuesday, I have to buy 15 cars here before I leave. Who here has ever been in that situation where they had to buy enough cars to just keep feeding the beast? Those are not typically the best cars you've ever bought. Right? Especially the further the auction goes, maybe you lost a couple and now you're getting frustrated. You know, you double check, still got a couple $100K of floor plan, and the hand just starts going up. If you told yourself, I have to buy 15 cars, you have to try and avoid doing that and buy cars on purpose. Right? If you want to buy cars on purpose, it means you're probably going to have to find more places to buy, you're going to need more sources, and we're going to get into some of that too. Inventory matrix. Who here actually pays attention to what they're buying and what they have, how many trucks versus vans, cars, SUVs? Does anybody here have a matrix of any kind that they follow, or do you just go and buy cars that you think are going to work? Anybody? The latter. Okay. So right now, and I've had conversations with people in this room, is you might have a matrix and not even realize it. And if you had one, you would be a lot better off, especially if you have other people buying. Right? Because like if you're a retail dealer, what's the difference between a $40,000 truck and a $51,000 truck right now? One of them sits, one of them sells pretty quick. So if you have people who are buying 40, or if the person that buys isn't necessarily the sales manager or the finance manager in the business, you're going to end up with a disconnect, and you're going to end up with old dated inventory. Right? So if you're using someone like DRL or Dealers Link or whatever you're using, most of these companies, especially if you're paying for it, they have something that's going to do some type of velocity list. What's moving, what's not moving, what do those prices look like? Someone that I found out has amazing data is, we were just in San Diego, and there was a lady from Experian who has free information, and it broke down like car types of buyers, sex, credit score, everything. It was like, these are what their average payments are staying up, this is who's performing and this is not. It was an insane amount of data that Experian has that you literally can email them and they'll send you. It's like, oh, in your market, this is what your market looks like, this is what you should be buying, this is your average credit score, these are the lenders. Like it was, I mean, there was a lot of data, but I mean, it's like, it's free, it's at your disposal. So are you using all of your tools to the best of your ability? Most of the time, when you see somebody with a different type of software or something, you use the parts of it that you like, you use the parts of it that you understand, but you're not using everything that you pay for, right? So if you've got a piece of software, if you have relationships with vendors, service contract providers, things like that, if you ask them, this is information they should be able to get, and they will. It's just, you just don't know what you can ask for. What's moving in your market, right? And it's not just like, it's not just trucks, SUVs, cars. It's like, in your state, these 12 cars were the fastest movers and only had an average day on lot of 28 days. These 15 cars are sitting on a lot for 68 to 78 days, and the price range. Right? So as you're trying to make the best choices possible, and if you're going to go to the auction and overpay for a car, overpay for the right one. Make sense? All right. Gross versus wholesale loss and time to line. Owners, who are our owners here? Keep your hand up if you own your dealership and you're also buying your cars. Right? Okay. So when you're talking about gross versus wholesale loss, and again, I had this conversation with somebody about a half hour ago, there's all these adages that we know that are 100% fact in this business, right? First money's best money. You know what I mean? The money's made when the car is bought. All of those things. Every single person has at least 3 or 4 cars on their back wall that you probably paid off, that you've owned for way too long, that has some type of mechanical issue. And as owners and buyers, we know for a fact it wasn't because we bought a bad car, it's because we had crappy mechanics. Right? But you know you bought it right, you love that car, it's the right one, it's got a bone thrower, you know, it's got a wing, it's fresh out of the wrapper, all the old car buying tools, you know, it smells good, it's not smoke good. All for summer. Armstrong windows that would roll up. You got all these things, you cannot fall in love with your own inventory. This mistake is made all the time. When you buy that car, and you find out it has an issue, right? Do not fall in love with that car. Do not get mad when your sales manager tries to give somebody $750 off, and you know you bought that car right, and look at the other things in the market. If somebody wants to take that car, you gotta get it. The prices are changing. There's too many things going on. And I see this kind of happening all the time. And the next thing you know, the car's 90 days old. Now you're forcing somebody to sell it. You've lowered the price $2,000. And if you would have took that first deal, you would have been better off. Right? Same thing. If you've got cars tied up on your back wall, which we're going to talk about later. The amount of money that you waste keeping cars on the back line and actually doing the math and figuring out what does it cost you to hold that car in your inventory per day. And we got Kinetic here in the back, and there's a very elaborate yet simple spreadsheet that they have. You can type in your inventory costs, your average. Yeah, if you like to nerd out on an Excel sheet, this is for you. It's literally going to tell you how much it costs you to have a car in inventory per day. So when you finally do sell that 90-day-old car and make $2 grand on it, guess what? You didn't make $2 grand on it. Your sales report says you did what you did. Right? And understanding that and being able to apply that to your business going forward is going to be super important. For those of you who start January 1, that's typically your retail dealer. You know, hey, it's tax time, and despite what you may think, tax time last year was better than it was the year before. The COVID years, during COVID, when everybody had all that money and everything was great, average tax return was about $4,300. Last year it was a little bit about $1,000 more. The money's out there, you just have to get it. Right? That's what you heard. I know it's not what you heard, but that's the actual math. That's from the IRS, not me. I'm not just making it up. Inventory costs, again, tons of cars gone. Who here trusts or buys off of or pays any attention to MMR and CRs? Anybody? A little bit. So, again, lots of guys out there who swear, like, oh, I'm buying behind an MMR, other guys are saying they're lying. It depends on what you look at. I have dealers who are constantly complaining about CRs and who you know at the auction, Brett, and this guy screwed me, and you know, I bought a red light, but stop the red light. Pump your brakes. You bought a red light car online, it showed up, it's not what you thought it was, and somehow that's the auction spot. Okay. But I also have a guy in Florida and Alabama who only looks, he sets his filter from like 3 to 3.8 CRs. And he's like, dude, there's a whole bunch of awesome cars down there that also the scoring was in the other direction, where they're really good cars, but when you're one of those dealers who sets his filters on 4.0 or higher, you're missing it. Right? So it's just, you have all this confirmation bias, these things that you know for sure because somebody else in the business told you, or you got a really good piece of advice in a Facebook group. They could have lied to you, or they might just not know what they're talking about. So don't kind of pigeonhole yourself into getting super scared about NMRs or the CRRs. You know, spend the time to make sure your buying process actually involves looking at the cars and finding out what's going on. Even sometimes searching, like when you run your carback report, it gives you a little price. You know, look at what those cars are selling for as far as the retail price and whether Car Gurus says it's a good deal or a fair deal. You're right. When you're buying online and trying to make those decisions in a quick time frame, you guys will have your 3 and 4 and 6 monitor arrays. You're taking in a lot of information, but you got to try and do your homework as much as you can ahead of time. New sources. Who has a really good or is actively buying cars from like non-traditional places? Facebook. Maybe you're doing the Kelly Blue Book thing. Maybe you've got a buyer who all they do is buy off the street. Nobody? So I talk about Tyler all the time. There's a friend of ours in Kentucky who got the idea one day that he was just going to weaponize his employees. He basically told all his employees, if you can find me a car that meets our criteria and you'll buy off the street, mechanics, title clerks, everybody, right? He pays between $300 and $500 a car. Right? He now generates somewhere between 50 and 70 cars a month off the street. His average gross on those cars, $5,200. Front end, no back. And he only carries like a 90 car inventory. He buys 20, 25, 30, 35 cars a month at the auction. All the rest of his inventory comes from off the street. He's writing checks for $2,500. He basically turns every single person who works for him into a buyer. So now when they're driving their kid to soccer practice and they see that car sitting on the side of the road, or one of them, it was a guy who was at a stoplight, had a for sale sign in a white Jeep Unlimited. He goes, follow me to my store, my boss will buy that right now. So just, you gotta get creative with what you're buying, I mean? If, it's like, think about like a bunch of old guys, how pissed off do they get when a new boat shows up at the fishing spot? Well, if everybody's fishing out of the same hole, it can get pretty difficult. And the same thing with your auctions in old cars, right? You get 90-day inventory, who's making the decision whether we're gonna hold on to this car and hope we make money on it, or if the car prices are getting higher and everybody knows there's demand, isn't this the time when maybe you should consider taking those losses and liquidating those cars at the auction and getting rid of them, right? Maybe the front end gross is what you want it to be, you recon it a little bit more. Start looking at some of that old inventory and say, what's the likelihood I'm going to make money on this now? What's it costing me to hold on to that car? And should I just take these 10 or 15 cars, send them to the auction, and generate a bunch of cash, which I could turn into new cars that aren't old? Right? Things to think about. Cash flow. Obviously, the tech sticks, right? What do you need to plan for? Your ACVs. What is it? What is your market? Right? There's a lot of people doing really well with those high-end cars right now. $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 and above. But those cars are typically difficult to source. You have to have a market for it. The reputations for selling those already. And it's kind of like a niche market, right? You have to know exactly what to buy. 2 black Chargers, one with red leather, one with black. Which one are you going to pick up? Maybe the one with red leather is going to sell best. Right? Color matters at those types of dealerships. That's why whenever you go past one, every single car is white, black, and silver. Right? Because they know it moves fast, and they're trying to keep that going as much as they can. You're focusing on gross profit, right? We know the front end is getting crushed. What types of things are you doing to try and get the best back end penetration? Right? When's the last time? How many finance managers do we have in there who are actually pushing the deals at their dealership? Okay. When's the last time you audited what finance companies your finance managers are using? If you signed up for 25 and they only ever use this 4 or 5, guaranteed it's costing you a couple $100 a car. Especially if you've got Capital One. Or you use Westlake a lot. It's genius. They got you to get out of dealer track in Route 1, go to their portal, spend a whole bunch of time working in it, and as soon as you get a green check mark, everybody forgets to go back and check the other. looking at doing an audit, an internal audit, saying like, how come we're not using these guys anymore? How come we're not using these guys anymore? Why are we doing all these Westlake deals when nationwide we buy this and we'd be able to sell our own vacuum product, right? And make more money and do some back there. Somebody who won't even allow that product, right? So paying attention to what you're doing, again, that equals a couple $100 a car here and there. Cash flow, floodplain versus self-funded. It's a lot easier if you're self-funded. It is. A lot of people are doing kind of a mix of that, right? They're asking, well, I'm going to self-fund these ones, I'll afford these ones, and sometimes you're pouring cars because it's quicker and it's easier to get those things in there. But nowadays, you don't know what's happening, especially if your floor plan's got variable rate. And it used to be really easy, like, oh, I'm against my floor plan, you call your rep and say, hey, can you throw me another million? It's tax time. They just turned it on. You know what I mean? Well, like, think about what the rates are now. How many more cars do you have to sell to even just cover that additional interest expense? Right? Do you have the opportunity to maybe buy some of your own cars versus flooring them? Right? So you've got to have it with watch sport. You know what I mean? So you have to just know your numbers. And that Excel spreadsheet, when you get to fill that out, is really going to be able to tell you exactly what it's costing you before versus doing it yourself, and kind of continue to make some of those pushes. And that's where you get into daily supply and costs. Right? If your time to line isn't really good, it's like, man, I really wish our recon process was better, and you're not one of those guys, you see somebody at convention, oh, what's your time to line? Like, oh, no, 8 days. You're going to go ahead and line. No, it's not. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing. You know what I mean? You look up that guy's, you look at everybody runs, and as soon as he walks away, you look up the dealership, at your day, you see the big, beautiful service in front of the deck, but oh, of course, he's got his own, service and things like that. But I mean, that type of stuff really matters. Like, how long does it take? So if you're like, hey, I'm gonna do 85 cars a month this tax season. My goal is to sell 60 cars a month. Great. Have you ever sold 60 cars a month before? No. I wouldn't go spend your money like you're going. You don't need. If you're planning 60 cars a month and you've never sold 60, you shouldn't have 75 cars in inventory. And then your owner should wake up on Tuesday and go buy one just because he likes doing it. Somebody has got to hide his keys. Because that is an expensive mistake. They love when they like it. Back wall. Everybody has a back wall with that, right? How many cars you got sitting back there? 8 cars? You know exactly how many. Everybody's got a couple cars with bad buys, right? Yeah, my partner right now, he bought an Audi TT. Number 2 cylinder misfire. Don't worry, boss. It's just coils. Okay? And he was right. He was so proud of himself. He bought the car, we shipped it here, it was awesome, it was shiny, it was the right one, carbon fiber on the inside, all the cool things to make the TT sell. And all it needed was coils. Awesome, right? No. Guess what else doesn't work? The electronic was bad, and the magnetic right was gone. He said, well, you didn't disclose that. I said, hence the red light. They got you. You lost. He said, well, how did you know? I said, well, it's easy. It's detailed. You see a detailed hot car for sale, red light, that is a polished turd, boys and girls. You should stay away from it. But we learned a very valuable lesson. So, overage, who knows how many cars you have over 30, over 60, over 90? Anybody? You know? How often are you doing a physical inventory? Touching cars. Who here has ever lost a car for 6 months and it's sitting at a body shop and you forgot about it? That's an expensive mistake. All that stuff. Plus, also imagine the law is at someone else's shop, parts fall off of them. That's always fun. When it comes back, it's like, it had an election, that's it. I don't know. But again, this is where that Excel spreadsheet comes in handy. The calculation for what is it costing me to hold these cars for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days is my term. And all of this is it's not designed to scare you, but I think when you buy a car and it's sitting there and you buy something bad or you're holding on to the wrong car for too long, you just kind of think, well, it's not really hurting me, it's just a fixed cost. It's really not. That car is getting more expensive by the day. Especially when additional recon creeps up on it or other things start to happen. So, turning cars is really, really good. Knowing what to buy, how to turn, what your actual processes are, who's responsible for those things, super important. Any questions about inventory? Anybody want to disagree with me about something? It's got to be this morning that it's forward. No? All right. One of the other, so the second thing that we talked about that went really well with Midland was leads. We talked a lot about not that leads are, how do I get more, or, what are you spending per lead, or what's the best software, but it's a lot about lead management, where you're generating lead from, what qualifies as a good lead versus a bad lead, things like this. And of course, if you're worth your salt in the car business, you've watched this movie, or at least seen the scene for Always Be Closing, and the leads are weak, you're weak, and I'm a pretty firm believer that those extra 3 to 5 sales a month that you're looking for were already in the store, they were already in the system, you just failed to catch them. Oh, okay. Greeting, rapport building, appointment closure recap. Who has their salespeople working the leads? Who has a BDC? Anybody here have a BDC? Or BDC people? Just you guys? You got a BDC too? So, one of the things that is always interesting about this is everybody assumes that there's certain things that are happening when your leads come in. Right? You all have CRMs. Maybe you spent a certain amount of time building the flow. This is what should happen as soon as the lead comes in. This is what happens on day 1, day 3, day 5, all that stuff, right? And that's all great, except you're not inspecting whether or not your salespeople are pencil whipping you, right? They're just clicking buttons to make it look like they did things, or are they actually doing it? There's actually a piece of software out right now that they're working on, that when the lead comes into your CRM and your sales manager sees it, and he says, yeah, this looks like a real lead, this is a Mickey Mouse, or, not going to happen, or something on it, and he sends it to a salesperson, the desk phone at their desk starts ringing. And then they pick it up, and then it dials the customer. To make sure the salespeople are actually making the phone calls. Who here has their salespeople texting customers on their personal cell phone? Anybody? Those can be some of the text messages back and forth and the arguments and stuff. But starting with the greeting, I've called stores of customers doing something we're going to talk about later when we shop your store, and they've literally answered the phone because they're using their cell phones, and it kind of like forwards from their phone, whatever. And they'll answer the phone at your dealership. Yeah. I'm like, oh, this is Brett. I was calling about the thing. Is this, IQ Auto Sales? Oh, yeah, that's us. Oh, it's coming. Yeah, it's still here. Yeah, it's about 19.9. Cool, thanks, bro. And then, it's off. And he checks it. Oh, I made the phone call. And you would be really surprised on the recordings and what's actually happening. So one of the things that you're kind of going through, all the things you should do, the good greetings, calling, your store, your name, how can I help you? The rapport building part, asking questions, especially these little things like, hey, is that car still available? You know what, let me check. Or while I'm looking at the system to see if that car is still available, I might ask you a question. What has you calling about this today? Are you guys looking to trade something in, or are you not into the fleet? And just kind of asking some more questions, getting the person engaged, trying to get them talking, rather than just having that 15 seconds of dead silence where your guy pokes his head up to see if the white license is still there. Right, so it's just an opportunity to talk to them. If the customer is the one asking all the questions, you are losing that call. Because all that customer is doing is pre-qualifying. Is it still there? Can I get it? What's your process look like? Do you require full coverage insurance? How much do I need down? And even if your guy's good and he answers all those questions, if you say, oh, well, yeah, our typical customer has about $1,200 down. Oh, that's great. What if they only have 1,000? You just told them not to show up to their appointment. So what should that answer to that be? And this is one of those areas where we don't do a good job training our people, and they're costing you money. Without a doubt. Setting up the appointment. Who here is 100% sure you could open up your CRM and set the appointment for sometime someday? You ever ask Siri to set you an alarm for sometime someday? It doesn't happen. Your people always say, oh, I talked to this guy. Oh, yeah, boss, he's good. When's he coming in? Sometime Saturday. It's not that. Not that. Sometimes Saturday doesn't exist. And that's why you get into all those questions like, hey, when they call, it's always, hey, well, yeah, it's still here. Can you come in today? No. And then the next question goes, oh, great, when can you come? It's like the worst question. The question should be, hey, no problem. What you have office. Oh, I'm off on Wednesday. Awesome, we're open on Wednesday. You sleep in on your days off, or you get up early still? Oh, I get up. Oh, I got a 10:15 and a 1:15. Set the appointment, put it in the system, immediately text them. Send them the directions to your store, make sure they know your name. And then go out there, walk, and take a couple of live pictures and do a little walk around video, send it off. That's how you get somebody to set up. Those are what the best dealers are doing and why they get such a high penetration of the leads and the selling more cars. Right? They're actually setting appointments, not just having a quick conversation with the customer and putting something in the CRM so they can say they did what you told them. Same thing, giving out your info, directions, pictures and videos. Make sure they know the car is real, that it is still really there, things like that. Next step, what the details, what to bring, who to ask for. That for me is typically, if I set the appointment, I'm going all the way to closure. Doesn't it say a little line away from there? No. Yeah, there it is. So we go all the way to closure. Then when you're confirming the appointment, because you came in the morning, and you're like, okay, I have 5 appointments today, that's when I'm rifling off all this information. Looking forward to seeing you at 10. By the way, here's a couple of things if you need to brief. If you want, you can send those over to me ahead of time. Here's a link to our credit app, so you're not sitting around the dealership waiting. And by the way, my name's Brett. Mine and them again. Confirming the appointment, see if they reply. If they don't reply, if they're not coming, they say, okay, thanks. You got a shot to think they might be actually coming. Remember to have the car pulled up, things like that. But a lot of these things aren't happening, and I have a standing rule. If any of you can send me a picture of a salesperson sweating because he's working so hard, it's worth $100. I get to pay out any money. This is an example of a script. As a general rule, I hate scripts. I think they're really bad, because who's ever gotten that scripted phone call from like a business of some kind? You can tell they're reading off of something, right? And I think that's really bad. Like, the best salespeople come from other industries, right? If you hire a guy that's been selling cars for 15 years, you know he's going to sell. But if you need an advice, 100%. He's going to be in his third cigarette before you even open the door. You don't want to have the sales meetings outside so you can smoke there. But if you don't have someone who's super familiar with the industry, or if you have, especially the younger people, they're not even comfortable with what to say on the phone. Have them do the script. Have them be able to role play this script with you and then crumble it up and throw it away and let them put it through their own words. But they can't say they weren't told. This is the minimum expectation of what I expect from you. Right? If you haven't done that, if you don't have written policies, if everyone here has, signed up Sigma Tiger training, where you give the guy a t-shirt with your logo on it and smack him on the butt and say, go get him. And you spend a day and a half showing him how to use your CRM, like you're going to fail. Those leads are not going to get work. You know what the most terrifying thing to happen to a salesperson is when they make a phone call? Somebody emails. They're terrified. They're like, voicemail, yes. So I can just send them a text message. They don't know what to say. Because they don't talk to anyone else. My children text me from the other room in my own house. Because they don't want to get up and come talk. That's the generation you're dealing with, especially 25 to 35. How do you know things that, again, what's special about your store? What do you offer? Do you have any programs or discounts? What's your model? Like, is it worked into it? Do you have some type of tagline, or something like that? Your reviews, are you talking about your reviews? Do you have reviews worth telling the sales, worth saying, hey, you know what, you have to take my word for it, go to Google and check out our reviews. Our address is there too. Right? If you take yourself seriously, and if you're putting them call 3 days later, they're all terrified. What did you do? It's like, no, man, if the problems only get bigger if you don't work, right? But how do you get your people to feel as proud about working at your store as you are at home? And if you're not investing in them, your leads are not getting worked properly, they don't know what to say, it's costing you money. And leads are expensive. Calculate that. What's your cost per sale when you add all your advertising dollars? That'll really get you fired up. Phone greetings, emails. Emails. The system, the automated system emails in your CRM. Do we have any CRM companies in here? Okay, good, because they're awful. They are terrible. I've actually seen customers who will be like, I'm just not getting, I don't really know using what to do in Pennsylvania you can't do in Ohio, and vice versa. And I got guys, just go on, pick it up, you can absolutely sneak into a drive and You can have it, but I want to get it done, yeah. It's just really bad advice. Here's something that I highly recommend you doing if you think sales is a problem. Even if you might be the one answering the phone, you're going to want to get with my girl Maggie here at Elevate the CNN. Use a little QR code, give her a call, tell her Buckeye West sent it to you. I don't do anything for it, I just want her to know I'm helping her out, so I really believe in what she does. She will secret shop your store. And then we'll get together next year and we'll listen to those calls. That's a big hack. There's a lot of players and pretty embarrassed people. Every once in a while, you'll see a dealer who's sitting there and they're like, oh, now I'm going to call P&M. And they're like, oh, don't let me be Andy. Don't let me be Andy. I'll look at the phone and I'll hear his voice. It's like, oh, it's Andy. You know, the guy just is terrible. It's pretty funny. But absolutely secret shop yourself. You should, when's the last time you checked your own website and filled out the agency policy contact? When's the last time you had somebody call your store? All the things that you think are happening while you're at the auction, while you're in the back doing the service, while you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing as a business owner, right? And meanwhile, that process is put in place, whatever training you did, it's not happening. So I highly recommend you get yourself coached, especially if you've got new people or you're not sure what's going on. Or hey, my advertising is going up and my penetration is getting worse. This is a really great place to start. Wow. How 60 seconds? 60 seconds. Good. All right. Okay.
Real quick, we have another one for secret shop us. We're going to be able to go on every Tuesday at the auction. And you secret shop us for a very long time to see how our store is. It's not that, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it is a really good tool for sure. Marketing and advertising. We can go through this real quick. Who here went to Terry's thing this morning at 9:30? Well, if you didn't, you missed out. Because that is really good. The important thing to remember about advertising is if you're not everywhere, you're nowhere. You don't exist. Right? And it seems silly, but even nowadays, if you're not on Facebook, if you're not on Instagram, if you're not on TikTok, if you're not doing SEO, if you're not doing those things, when you go to search car dealers in your area and you don't show up on the first, I don't mean Google your own website, right? I'm talking about just like used cars app. If you're not on the first page, fix it. Because when's the last time you scrolled to the second page of anything looking for an answer? You don't. So if you don't show up, or when you do show up, the guy above you and below you have 150,000 reviews and you've got 12, you got to fix it. That's up next. Either way, you're everywhere or you're nowhere. Spray and pray is not a plan. Community involvement. If you have the opportunity to get involved in your community, you got a kid playing soccer, anything that you can do to just try and get your name out there and participate in the community is huge. I know a lot of people who will take that to a whole other level for a lot of reasons, and the community will absolutely reward you if you truly are kind of have an altruistic nature and want to be philanthropic in your neighborhood. Finish your staff on mission. You've got a goal, you've got a mission statement, you've got something you're trying to accomplish. You know what the culture of your store is. If the people don't know what it is, again, that's all that means. You should have a plan, a real plan, not oh shit, it's tax time. I guess we should try and ask for bigger down payments. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing to try and get those people to come to you before they spend their money? That is the biggest check they're going to get all year, and a lot of times. What are they going to do with that? You are fighting for their business, and you have to get recognized. So again, the more you plan ahead, the better off you are. Even if you just had a schedule on Mondays, we're going to post some new inventory picks. Tuesdays, we're going to do our new customer photo dump. On Wednesdays, we're going to post a funny viral or a TikTok video or a cat video or whatever. Those are beneficial. And the reason is, if there's a viral video out there, work appropriately, and you share it on your page, other people see it, right? And they engage with your page not because of the cars, but just because they liked the cat video. But what they just told the Google algorithm is that page's stuff is important. So tomorrow, when you price it up and you sell up their cars, they're also going to have that show up on their feed. Right? So you shouldn't be a digital billboard. You're supposed to engage with people. Do some fun stuff, do some cool stuff, and then brand your business. Don't just make it a digital billboard for cars. Third thing that most people really like talking about, and again, this is probably primarily what we do a lot of, besides consulting, is the reinsurance. You have a reinsurance program, it's essentially a very tax advantageous way to own your own products. Everybody likes to make more money, but then get more economic benefit, right? Nobody likes paying taxes. This is a great way to protect your business. It's a great way to make more money. If you're a buy here, pay here dealer, this is how you protect your portfolio. There's losses that you already have that you're not doing. For example, if you're a buy here, pay here dealer, and they wreck the car, which they always do, and then you've got a charge off, right? Well, if you're not, if you're just, everybody says, what do you use the charge off? Oh, we just charge it off. Oh, so you gave the customer a free gas. Why are you not selling it? Why not earn a couple of extra dollars of interest income, and then actually be able to file a claim against yourself and reserve your loss. Same thing with retail, right? Everything's in question. Service contract. Sell a service contract, customer has an issue in the first 2 weeks, you're arguing with them, trying to get a fix, or someone who's got $8 grand a month, I can't get him to fix a $750 part for me, so you end up talking it up the policy. Why not put yourself in a situation where you can own your own service contract, keep all that money, make your own decisions, more control over costs, more control over customer claims, all of it. Reinsurance at its core is a long-term wealth generator. This is the best 401k for car dealers ever. Nothing better. And it also gives you a lot more control over your business. Our PSI is right? Wholesale inspection. Buy a car, you pay for wholesale reviews, or at auction, right? Our history, involved it, you put it in your arbitration, send a couple of days, the arbitration guy comes down to you, you just find out, you send your car there. You send your car there, you say pro, you say it's not, you lose, you ship your car back. So not only did you buy a car, pay for the arbitration, argue with someone, ship it back to yourself 2 more times, but now the car's 30 days old, it has an offer lead time, you're super excited. No. Own your own PSI, bring your car back, anything above and beyond mobile reconditioning, just fix it yourself. But rather than charging it to the ACV, expense it to your own Deal Shield PSI program, and then keep all the profit rather than sending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to the auction every year in PSI fees. And what do you think your actual return on that is as a percentage? It's small. It's very small. Is my 60 seconds up? What we do the most, this doesn't matter. What's the thing with your own? You don't need time. You're making decisions. You look at one of your cars, it's 10 days, you got it back up. You don't need to, it's a price of home. So think about it, you sent the auction 50 grand last year in PSI, right? That's their money. Now take that same 50 grand, put it to your bank account. You find out that car actually needs a transmission, put a train in it, but it's expensive here. Don't add it to AC. That's how it works. Again, lots of reasons to do it. The underwriting profit's not taxable, wealth generating tool, all that stuff. Common products, warranties, service contracts. Prepaid legal has become really popular lately. I don't know, there's a lot of things out there legally. You know, buying deals back, recourse deals. Maybe you want to try and buy a new piece of property, you got to go through the lawyers, you got to get all your surveys and your environmental studies and everything. All dealerships have lots of legal expenses. You kind of you plan for it, you kind of you don't. Through reinsurance, you can actually prepay for some of your legal expenses in advance, and then again, you get the benefit of an expensive business, as well as our taxable income, move the money to the reinsurance company, where now it's earning interest for us, and we're able to do more fun stuff. Buy here, pay here dealers, the biggest thing in buy here, pay here right now is probably the CPI, the GAP, and the BSI. CPI is basically owning your own car insurance. Where customers are paying you the premium, you're not fighting with Geico anymore about whether it's right total, depreciated value or anything like that. It doesn't take 2 to 3 weeks to file a thing, it takes 2 to 3 days. Same thing with GAP. I actually have a lot of retail dealers owning their own GAP now, which didn't used to be a thing, but now it is. And then vendor single interest is if you have your finance company. VSI is the oldest product there is when it comes to finance products. This is the one that's going to protect you against skips, total loss of no insurance, impound fees, repo fees, cut keys, tow bills, things like that. Things that technically we can't add to the amount. So think about basically a policy that protects you from all your repo expense and excessive charge. I don't have time for this. Yeah, 40 seconds. 40 seconds? Underwriting, if you're in buy here pay. I only have 3 buy here pay here people here, right? Okay. Underwriting. If you're still underwriting based on down payment, that's no good. $2,500 down, you get a car. $1,800 down, you don't. There's a good chance you're selling cars to the wrong people. You're giving cars to people who deserve it, who don't deserve it, and you're turning people away who would actually pay you. Are you doing an interview and a budget to actually figure out who's good at what? Are you using a piece of software to make all the decisions for you? Or are you keeping it old school and thinking follow the mirror to get a car? So people are still doing that. Volume, more sales, better sales is the way to go. Some people just like to throw cars out the door and see what sticks. Other people like, you know what, I'm okay with turning down a bunch of people because I want to try and get the best deals on the book that I can. So 50 cars a month when you're repoing a lot isn't necessarily as good as 30 cars a month. You're actually going to stay on the books past 18 months, or 20 months, which is where you really hit it in the money making part. The biggest thing about your behavior, whatever you do, don't allow yourself to shrink. Don't get scared by car prices. Don't get scared by payments. Don't get scared by term. You are still the best option that customer has. You think about a buy here, pay here deal versus a subprime retail deal, right? There's a time and place for both. Same exact car, same exact customer. Their payment's going to be a little bit cheaper, right? The principal loan on that car is probably 10 grand more, and that car has to last them 72 months, not 36. Which do you think is the better deal? That person is going to get repoed when that car breaks down. They are not going to work with them to keep them in the portfolio the same way a buy-here, pay-here dealer is going to work with them to keep them in the portfolio. So just because their payment's $100 cheaper at a subprime bank, it is not a better deal for that customer. It's just not. Buy-here, pay-here is still the best option they have, especially if you're good at what you do. That's all. This is a 3-hour presentation. I tried to condense into 45 minutes. But if you want the workbook, if you want the Excel spreadsheet, or if you want to have a further conversation about anything we talk, I'll send you all of it, or I can send you the full presentation and you can kind of look over that. There's a lot more stuff in there. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.